Hey, this is Kamori, and today we're going to be making the dress for Silk Maiden Alice. So we're going to start with the skirt portion, and I'm using the same pattern that we used for the petticoat, Simplicity 1807. And I started by cutting out the front of the skirt, and then I split the pattern, added a little bit extra for seam allowance, because we are going to have a zipper going up the back of the dress. So after these pieces have been cut out, I'm using a navy blue satin. We're going to zigzag around the edges. Next, putting right sides together, going to sew the front and back sides of the skirt together along the side seams. Next, I hemmed the bottom edge of the skirt using a rolled hem. Now to make the bodice of the dress, I started by cutting out the bodice pieces for Simplicity 1586, and normally these are a dress, but I used the pattern and I cut off 2 inches below the waistline to turn it into a shirt instead of a dress. So we have the front piece and then the 2 side pieces. So we're going to zigzag around the edges to keep them from fraying, and then attach them together along the side seams. After assembling the bodice front, cut across it to create the new neckline, then take the bodice front apart and use that to create the patterns for the rest of the pieces. Then assemble the bodice pieces back together and paint on the floral design. Sew the center back and side back pieces together, then paint on the floral design. Attach the front and back pieces together along the shoulders. Repeat the same process to make the lining of the bodice. Cut a rectangle to make the ruffle along the top of the bodice, and then you're going to fold it so that the right side's together, zigzag along the edge, and then sew the ends together, and you're going to do this for both ends, and you're going to need a rectangle for each side of the bodice. Turn the rectangle right side out, and then zigzag the edges to keep them together and to keep them from fraying. Gather the ruffle and attach it to the front side of the bodice. Next, sew the lining onto the front of the bodice, sandwiching the ruffles in between along the neckline. After sewing the 2 pieces together, I then turned it right side out and top stitched along the ruffles. Then I just sewed the edges of the pieces together just to keep them a little bit more organized during the process of making the rest of the dress. Repeat the same process to make the other side of the bodice. Note that I did not take the ruffles all the way to the end of the bodice, and that's because this is going to be underneath this side, and I didn't want the ruffles to cause any unnecessary bulk. Place the bodice fronts on top of each other and sew them together along the sides to secure them together. Next, attach the front and back of the bodice pieces together along the sides. For Alice's sleeves, I'm using Simplicity 1093, just using the sleeve pattern, and cut out 2 of these out of the navy blue satin, and now we're going to zigzag around the edges. Next, using a combination of acrylic paint and textile medium, I painted the designs onto the sleeve. For the cuffs of the sleeves, start by cutting 4 rectangles out of the navy blue satin, zigzag around the edges. Next, putting right sides together, sew 2 of the rectangles together along the long side. Turn the pieces right side out and stitch all along the edge. Then Sew on some pink satin ribbon. Then connect the two sides of the rectangle together to form the base of your cuff. Sew the two sides of the sleeve together to make a tube. Then attach the cuff to the bottom of the sleeve. Next, attach the sleeves to either side of the bodice. Paint the floral design onto the skirt. Sew the skirt onto the bodice. Sew the back of the dress together along the center back. Then insert the zipper. And with that, Alice's dress is done. For more Alice cosplay tutorials, please subscribe. And as always, if you have any suggestions for any character tutorials you'd like to see me make, let me know in the comments below. Thank you!